about to join Don Neuen, co-host of Cowboy Logic Radio, and Denise Simon, host of the Denise Simon Experience, for a weekly situation report, or SITREP. 18 hours a day, Denise Simon lives her life as an Intel Analyst. 18 hours a day, Don Neuen lives his life in the world of rock and roll. 1 hour each day, Neuen receives a daily SITREP from Simon. Welcome to the Drive Time Situation Report. Fasten your seatbelt. You're now in Don Neuen's car, and he is calling in for his SITREP.
Smello.
What's up, Denise Simon?
Well, I mean, the news is just all over the place.
Well, that's becoming the norm. Before we get all over the place, let me welcome all you listeners to the Drive Time Sit Rep. You've got on one end of this conversation Denise Simon, and on the other end of it, your good buddy Don Neuen. We are going to be with you for the next 56 minutes, approximately 54 minutes, whatever it is. I'm in my car driving home. I've called in Denise Poo for a sit rep. She's going to bring me up to speed on everything that I don't know that happened today, which is a lot because I've had my face buried in work, much like you guys. And the beautiful thing about Denise, one of the beautiful things about Denise Simon, is that her work is burying her face in everything that you and I want to know. So, without any further ado, Denise, let's timestamp the show, and what do you say we get after it?
It is exactly 9 p.m. Eastern on April Fool's Day in the year of our Lord, 2019.
Do me a favor. Don't hit me with anything April Fool related.
I won't. I don't have any use for April Fool stuff.
Well, I already had one driver come in and play that little game on me, and I didn't find it very funny, and I almost turned it around on him. So, at any rate, having said all that, the only thing that I have seen in the brief 45 seconds that I looked at Drudge while I was at lunch was Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden. And that's it. I'm amazed at how insignificant in the scheme of what we are truly faced with the headlines of the day are. I mean, my point is everybody knows old Joe is a mental midget.
And he's creepy. He's creepy.
Yeah, he obviously is creepy, but he's also way, way, way far left, despite the fact that he's, supposed to be, hometown Joe or whatever his little nickname is. I mean, the guy's whatever. If that's the best that the left can come up with, great. We're doomed if we lose.
What? Yeah. I really don't care about, Joe Biden. I mean, he's creepy. He does this to women constantly. Of all ages. Yeah. I mean, and on top of everything else, he's the one that swam or swims naked in his pool when he's got, Secret Service all over the place, including, I might add, female Secret Service. So, I mean, the guy's creepy, period.
Denise, I didn't know that, and I probably could have lived out my life without ever knowing that.
Another Denise factoid.
Yeah, that one turned my stomach. Woo! Okay. So good old Joe swims in the buff.
Yeah, and you remember when there was a big brouhaha during the Obama administration where he had this house that he rented to his own security, as a Secret Service security detail. He rented it to them.
Right.
So in order for them to be there, they had to pay him rent. And then the swimming thing. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the bigger thing that, that we ought to, I think, be focusing on with regard to Joe Biden is the rather significant relationship and timely relationship between his son and China and John Kerry's stepson, or whatever he is, son-in-law, and China, as well as the relationship with Ukraine. I find those to be far more important than whether he smells women's hair or not. That just makes him creepy. The other thing is significant. Don't you agree?
There's a lot about Joe Biden, and I interviewed this sheriff a couple of times, by the way. But Joe Biden's, one of his sons was the Attorney General of Delaware. And as Attorney General in Delaware, he stripped the sheriffs. I think there's only 4 counties in Delaware. Right. I forget. It was a long time ago. But I happened to interview Sheriff Jeff Christopher and his lawyer, I might add, several years ago. But as Attorney General, they stripped the sheriff's authorities completely.
I actually remember that show.
Uh-huh. Sussex County. This was in, I think 2010, 2011 that I did that. This was Beau Biden.
Well, there's been nefarious stuff going on with the Biden boys for quite some time. Don't you agree?
Well, one died. So.
Well, I know that, and I'm not making light of that at all. But the situation with what's the son that went over to China and benefited by daddy being a vice president?
I don't know. I don't remember which one, but
point is, it's one of the Biden boys.
Yes.
And it's the same one that went over to Ukraine and benefited from daddy being vice president, right?
Yeah, and so I would say, perhaps we don't know where this whole thing with his groping, thing is going to go. But there's a whole lot more to Biden. So it's very fascinating that we need to kind of do our work. So maybe he just doesn't even bother to get into the race. He may not get in anyway, because I'm seeing a lot of indications that the big money that he would need is not out there for him. They're not stepping up to the plate, these big donors.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else that happened on planet Earth today other than Joe snipping women's hair?
Yeah, I mean, God. Apparently we're going to vote on Wednesday to subpoena the Mueller report in full, and that may also include a subpoena to Robert Mueller himself.
And they want this, the Democrats want to subpoena the entire report. And
evidence, all supporting documents.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. And that's illegal.
They want it unredacted, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And that's illegal, by the way.
Exactly. What's going to be said about that? What is Barr saying?
Well, we don't know. But not only is Barr doing this, but Rod Rosenstein and Mueller, they're all putting together, the report that they're going to give to Congress. And of course, Nancy comes out and says it, this book report that we got from Barr was insulting and blah, 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 blah. Well, it was a courtesy. He didn't have to do that at all. It was a courtesy. Because of his testimony that he gave during his confirmation hearing. It was a courtesy. He doesn't have to provide a report to anybody. So he may go ahead and say, screw it. You guys go ahead and subpoena this thing. I'm going to deny the subpoena, and you guys take it to court and then see what happens.
Exactly, because they don't have a leg to stand on.
Well, look, there are people in there that need to be protected. That their identities do not need to come out. The second thing is
like everyone on that testified before in front of the grand jury. Everyone.
All grand jury information is to be withheld. Period. End of report. That's called 6E.
Yeah,
exactly. They don't get it. They don't get it.
They can't not get it.
Well,
I mean, what is wrong with these people?
No, I'm saying they don't get that information. It's not that
of course they don't.
Okay. But here's the deal. Jerry Nadler is a lawyer. Kamala Harris is a lawyer. Adam Schiff is a lawyer. And then they all have lawyers that work for them in these committees. So they all know this. So I would like to see personally, and Barr is no slouch. This cat was at the Department of Justice going all the way back to the first World Trade Center bombing. That's how long he's been around. Okay. But I'd like to see him just go, I've been nice. I'm doing this work and you guys are being petulant little snots. So you know what? I'm going to produce the report, but it's going to stay right here. I'll see you guys in court.
You think he'll do that?
No. I would.
Well, yeah, I get that. So he will give an appropriate report or an appropriately redacted report, which will not satisfy them. And what will happen from there, do you think?
Well, first of all, he's already said that he's not going to have it until like the middle of April or something. Well, they're demanding it like day after tomorrow or something stupid. The moment they take this vote, they want it. Like, send it over here electronically.
And these people, these Democrats, actually think that anybody with a half a brain is taking them seriously?
It's all part of the game.
I get it. I get it. And everything is about timing and politics. I get all that. And I also get that the majority of their constituency is brain dead.
I don't think it's about constituency. I don't think Adam Schiff cares about his constituency. I don't think
agree.
Jerry Nadler cares about the constituency. I don't think Kamala Harris does. Maxine Waters clearly doesn't. She doesn't even live in her district.
I agree. So they're doing it just to continue
Absolutely.
exactly what you and I talked about in November of 2016, which they are throwing sand in the gears any way they can. Legally, they want to disrupt the flow of government any way they can and try to stop this president any way they can, regardless of what it does to the country. Right?
Well, every one of them on the campaign trail, from Beto O'Rourke to, Amy Klobuchar, to, Kirsten Gillibrand, all they do is, use Trump as a piñata. They're not talking about issues. I mean, they'll occasionally throw something in there if somebody asks a question. But they've had their talking points all defined. They've all paid these outside, pundits and, experts. And so they have all these talking points. Now, the question then becomes, how come and the Republicans do it too. But when they go to these town halls and these kinds of things, how come they just don't say, I'm going to sit here, you guys ask me the questions? Not like the ones on TV where, they're pre-screened and shared and,
right,
all that. Because I would like to, there's just all kinds of questions I'd like to ask. It doesn't, they go from the sublime to the ridiculous. But, I would go to the committee assignments that they're on, and I would look at some of these things that are before their respective committees, and I'd challenge them. Where's your legislation on this? How come you didn't do this? And how, blah, 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 blah. Why do you want our troops so badly out of Yemen? Yet, we never hear any of you guys talk about the Veterans Administration. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Denise, here's why. The people that are going to vote Democrat, they care about one thing: removing Donald Trump. And when you ask them why, they cite things like Charlottesville, or, he said the P word, or he lies, or he's Islamophobic, or he's homophobic, or he's misogynistic. That's their voter base. That's the mentality of their voter base. Their voter base is not going to be able to come up and articulate any questions that would have any substance about anything. And we're going to have to put up with this until 2020. I
swear, I swear that people that vote need to take a test before they're eligible to vote.
You are so racist.
Well, it's not racist. They can be white in there too. I don't care what color they are.
That's what you would be labeled with.
Yeah, whatever. It's a poll tax because they have to take a test.
No, you're trying to suppress voters.
Yeah, you're right. I am. You're absolutely right. I am.
Yeah, but you know what they say over that. The bottom line is this: that's their voter base. Their voter base.
Well, and here they are. We're having this conversation now that they've thrown out there that 16-year-olds should be allowed to vote. Hell, the 16-year-olds are still waiting for their pet-a-pony parties and their chalk parties so they can come out of their crying closet and their safe spaces. And we want them to vote?
Yeah. Have you spoken or interacted with a 16-year-old that does not happen to be raised in a conservative family that actually is displaying conservative values as a young adolescent individual? Have you spoken to one recently?
No.
It's terrifying. I'll take it a step further. How about anybody under the age of 30 that doesn't meet those qualifications that I just described? It's terrifying.
I know it is. I absolutely know that it is. They can't keep their noses out of their cell phones.
Yep. They have absolutely zero ability to critically think. No ability whatsoever to critically think.
Well, if they don't know the issues, then they can't do any critical thinking.
It doesn't matter. They can't critically think about how to pick up a number 2 pencil and put it in a pencil sharpener.
They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, you're right. I guess they don't need to with the tablet.
They don't roll up windows and
I mean, it's terribly.
They don't know.
terrifying.
They don't even know what a hand little crank can opener is. They have no concept of any of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, before we get into anything else, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Drive Time SITREP. You've got Denise Simon on one end of this conversation. My name's Don Neuen. I am in my car driving home. I'm on I-20, Denise, coming up on the lovely town of Douglasville. You know it well. And We're just having a sit rep here. Same thing we do every week. I think you guys listen to it Wednesday night. This is Monday night, April 1st. We are not kidding. And Denise, we've got about 4 minutes till we have to go to break. You want to give us a short little snippet of something?
Well, on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about a little bit of foreign policy and how we're being infiltrated here in the United States, and nobody's figured that out yet. So I want to actually talk about some of that.
Infiltrated in what manner?
Well, I'll get into some of that.
Because there's a bunch of them.
But meanwhile,
Hey, hold on a second. Hold on. Before you get into anything, and only because we got like 3 minutes.
right?
You mentioned a couple of weeks ago about military exercises that are going to be taking place in California.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed last week that, and I'm trying to remember where they fired a long-range missile, and then we took it out, and it appeared to be a successful operation.
Right.
You want to expand on that for about 2 minutes?
No.
Or do you want to expand on it for about 12 seconds?
No. No.
Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do, but that was like so last week.
Well, I know, but the thing is, we haven't talked about that. That's fine. We haven't talked about it in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Oh, I don't think it was that long.
All right, well, let me ask you this. Did that have anything to do with the operation and the training program that was going on that you spoke about 3 weeks ago?
I don't think so. I think what we're doing, what I spoke about was the Marines that were kind of going back to ground assaults, and using, all the technologies that they have been able to buy with their infusion of cash during the last funding rounds.
But I thought you said they were working directly with the Navy.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's Navy and Marines. But I mean, we're kind of going back to where we were in World War II, because if we have to do things like China or Iran, it would definitely be ground assaults.
Okay. Well, I put 1 and 5 together and came up with 3, and that told me that what was going on with this testing had something to do with that. It made sense because it was coming from 4,000 miles away, something like that?
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to just tell everybody I'm right, and I'm on top of that.
All right. I like it.
And just do me a favor. Go, yeah, you are.
Yeah, cool. You're good.
All right. Very good. All right. Let's see how much time we got. We got about a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, in this minute, I want to tell you about Denise Simon's website while she mocks and laughs at me. founderscode.com. I encourage you guys, those of you that haven't checked this website out, go check it out. It's where Denise does all of her great work. She posts any place from 3 to 6 articles a day. If you put your email address in there, you're not going to get spammed. You're not going to get the email address sold, but you will get an email with each one of her articles in it so that you can read it. Now, why is that important? Because she does all the hard work for you. All you got to do is read the article, digest the article, and then regurgitate the article, and you look brilliant, just like I try to do from time to time. She does all the work for you. And it is well vetted. It's information that you can count on to where you talk about it, and you don't look like a fool because you're regurgitating misinformation. So founderscode.com. I can't say enough good things about that site. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to take a break. When we get back, Denise is going to talk about infiltrating the United States and all things that have to do with that. You are listening to the Drive Time Sit Rep.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Welcome back to the Drive Time Sit Rep, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Don Neuen. I co-host the radio show Cowboy Logic Radio that comes to you every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on whatever radio station or network you're listening to this show on. On the other end of this confab is Denise Simon. She has her own show, The Denise Simon Experience, that airs Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, again, on the same radio station or the network that you're listening to the Drive Time Sit Rep on. Denise, who do you have coming up this week before you get into the infiltration of the United States of America?
Well, I have one of my lawyer buddies, Tim Snowball, talking about the taxing of drinking water in California, of which I think New Jersey has already kind of done the same thing. Robert Spencer on how CARE now has a direct open door into Congress. Thank you, Ilhan Omar. Gordon Chang, our mutual friend, we discussed China, and I asked him a question: if you were to give an opening remark before some congressional testimony about China, what would it be? He said, China is no friend. They are an enemy of the United States. And the conversation went on from there. And then my buddy Derek Maltz, who is a 28-year special agent, meaning international implications, with the DEA, and we spoke about how the dark net is killing our kids with opioids and fentanyls.
Yeah, that's got to be terrifying to listen to.
Well, they're all topics that, go way beyond Ilhan Omar and Joe Biden's groping and, Beto O'Rourke. So, I mean, there's so many other things that are happening out there. And my new governor, by the way, has just created a task force, which Jeb Bush actually created when he was governor. My previous governor, Rick Scott, terminated the task force, and now Ron DeSantis has put it back in to
good for Ron.
Yeah, to to address the opioid fentanyl crisis in Florida.
All right. Well, before you get started in the infiltration topic, I want to take a minute, and I know you're going to agree with me. She's got one of our mutual friends and frequent guests on both of our shows, Gordon Chang, who is an expert on China. And don't you agree with me, Denise? Isn't Gordon Chang just a class act human being?
All the way around.
In addition to being an authority on all things Asia. But isn't he just a wonderful human being? And so is his wife, Lydia.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them are just special, special people. And I encourage all of you listeners to seek out and investigate Gordon Chang's work, because he's doing stellar work. But on top of that, he is just such a first-class human being. We need more people like Gordon Chang.
I agree. I mean, he is prepared with an answer pretty much for every question that you ask him. And I tend not to go down the normal paths and I let my guests talk. I don't talk over them. Hello, Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity.
No kidding. God, I got to turn it off. I can't
do it. I can't do them. But anyway, Gordon, hat tip to Gordon for sure.
Well, and the thing is, it's one thing to be an expert in your field. There's plenty of those, and many of them you and Donna and I interview. But it's very rare to find an expert in their field that is so humble and so gracious and so genuinely kind. And that's what Gordon Chang is. I can't say enough good things about the guy. Please support his work and buy his books, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you can thank him. All right, Denise, infiltration of the United States. I'm going to shut up for the next 20 minutes because.
All right. Well, look, I've written a good bit about the Confucius Institute, of which two senators, Cruz and Rubio, have been ringing the bell on for quite some time, and I'm very happy that they're doing that. The Confucius Institutes are, paid their way in, hello China, into a lot of our universities, and it's very much the same kind of model that Saudi Arabia was doing. Trying to, have schools on Islam in the Middle East and in secondary education. But they're really spy operations, just like Huawei is a spy operation. But nonetheless, it's uncanny to me that we only really have 2 senators that are saying, hey, you universities, and there's probably 20 or 30 of them, get China's Confucius Institutes out of there. But it isn't just in secondary education. I've written about it because they actually go all the way into the public school systems, down into grade school. And I wrote about this one a month or so ago. And I actually demonstrated how, like Minnesota or Oklahoma's public school systems are, gladly accepting foreign monies to alter the syllabus and what we teach our kids beginning in kindergarten, first grade.
Why am I not shocked about Minnesota?
Well, whatever. But whatever state, it kind of doesn't matter. But then, another one that I wrote about a long time ago that is still rearing its ugly head is Qatar, otherwise known as Qatar. The place where Obama traded 5 Taliban commanders out of Guantanamo for Bo Bergdahl, and they opened up a diplomatic post in Doha.
Hey, where is Bo Bergdahl these days? I don't mean to sidetrack.
I have no idea. And I remember a time where I had learned that Qatar has a investment wing that's got several $100 billion in it, and they're buying all kinds of real estate here in the United States. And one of them was what is known as City Center in Washington, D.C. In City Center, after they bought it, they wanted to have some tenants. So one of their first tenants was Covington and Burling law firm. Now, why does that sound familiar? Well, that was Eric Holder's previous law firm, and it's his current law firm. So they're perfectly fine living and working in a Qatar operation. Now, Qatar, by the way, is the one country that Saudi Arabia and several other Middle Eastern countries were trying to isolate because of the Muslim Brotherhood. Remember, some of them declared the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization.
Right.
Everybody except the United States.
Could never figure that one out.
Still can't, because we still have an opportunity to do that. All right. So we've identified the fact that we have China in our schools, and we have Qatar buying a bunch of real estate. But that's not to be outdone by China's media, because they're very much doing the same thing. China is on a major campaign here in the United States to reach out to, probably under several cover companies, to rehabilitate China's reputation around the world. And they're not only doing it with media, but particularly media, so that media will put some pressure on members of government, especially the State Department. So we have another area by which China is throwing their weight around. Okay. Then we have Russia. And, Russia has got all these investment companies too, and they're doing very much the same thing. They're buying lots of real estate, in interesting places like Miami, I would say in and around Baltimore, Maryland, especially California, and China too. They're all around San Francisco and Seattle. And, we thought that maybe that problem would have necessarily been solved when Barack Obama closed the 3 Russian DACAs in December of 2016 or 2015, and threw out a bunch of, Russian spies and Russian dignitaries. Well, that didn't solve the problem. And we came to learn about, Uranium One because of CFIUS. Remember that one?
Sorry, I had me muted so you wouldn't have all this background noise of the car. Yeah, I remember it.
Okay, CFIUS is the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States. But let's also remember that registering with CFIUS is optional. Optional. So why do we have something out there that's optional? Why bother having it at all?
Exactly.
Which is kind of where we are with FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. It's optional. But the reason it's a law, but if you don't do it and you get caught, you can go back and register retroactively. Okay, so the point here is, where is Congress? Where these Democrats so hate Moscow, they so hate Putin, and they so hate Trump, that what are they doing to punish Russia for their interference into our elections? And they did do that. But where are they? Has any of these Democrats proposed a tighter grip on the law on Foreign Agents Registration Act, or on the Committee of Foreign Investment in the United States, otherwise known as CFIUS?
No.
If China is a big threat too, and they obviously are when it comes to intellectual property and hacking and all these other kinds of things, have any of them introduced any kind of legislation to make things a little bit harder for China?
No, they can't do that because they're busy trying to impeach Trump. And they're busy taking lots and lots of money from these foreign actors.
And therein lies where I think our faithful little listeners out there probably ought to just let their fingers do the walking on the keyboard for a little while and just kind of see what pops up that they had no idea of. Now, apparently Russia has about a $12.5 trillion pool of capital that they play with. 12 trillion. Now, I don't know if that's a real number. That may be a number that Russia just likes to put out there. But let's cut it in half and let's just say that they've got 6 trillion. What are they doing with that money? Is it legal money? Are they laundering it? And is it being laundered through the United States? Who are these oligarchs? Are they, buying real estate? Are they buying mining companies? Are they buying metal companies through front operations? Remember, we have these front operations that are just really in front of us and nobody's questioning who they are and what they're doing. So I would say when these candidates, Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris, Kirsten Gillibrand, Bernie, hey, let's feel the burn. What do you guys have to say? How come, where's your legislation on, foreign, you didn't like foreign interference by Moscow, but we've got all this other foreign interference injecting themselves into the United States. What gives? Doesn't that sound a little remarkable to you, Don?
Yeah, but it's not surprising that you're not getting any pushback from the Democrat Party.
Nobody's been asked.
Exactly. But the thing is, again, who's going to ask them? These people don't necessarily come on to Fox News or One American News or Newsmax. Nobody's going to ask these people about this, these Democrats, any of these questions on CNN, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC. They're not going to, NPR, they're not going to ask those questions. They're protected. And they're most certainly not going to talk about it when you've got Democrats that are sitting in Congress that are supporters of the Democrat Socialist Party of America, that are members of the Communist Party of America. They're not going to ask these questions. It's going to have to be asked by members of the Republican Party. And even then, it's not going to get past Fox News. It's not going to get past One America News. It's not going to get past Newsmax. And the only way to expose this stuff is going to be hopefully with the DOJ looking into it, if we're lucky, and then sicking the FBI or the CIA on it. Am I wrong?
Well, I would say that we could trot on over there to their Twitter accounts, because we know that they're on Twitter because they watch the Donald's tweets all day long. And maybe we ought to start asking them some hard questions and saying, you work for us. You are a civil servant, and you are now a presidential candidate. I need to know the answer to these questions, and then just start going after them. And then we get to say these people aren't responding, and I'm a voter.
Well, clearly, when you've done that, they've never responded, correct?
Correct. And I get to say something about it on the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who have you approached recently about this kind of stuff?
Well, I haven't, because I was kind of thinking about it beginning yesterday. When I start hearing the things that are being said by these Democrat candidates, they're all platitudes. All their talking points are platitudes. There's no substance to anything that they're saying. And then, they're also using, again, Trump as a whipping post.
All right. Well,
it's like Kamala Harris was asked the other day, "Hey, what are your thoughts on Jesse Smollett?" And she's like, "I just don't know. I'm just really confused. I've looked at it, and I kind of tilt my head, and I really just don't know that." And she wasn't going to give an answer. She wasn't going to give one at all. She was a prosecutor. She was an attorney general. Of course she's got an opinion.
Of course. All right. Let me ask. Let's do this. For our beloved listeners who you are needing to join this army, lay out four congressmen or senators that you would like them to follow their Twitter accounts and pound them with 3 hard questions. 4 senators or congressmen, 3 questions. What are
they? They can actually pick out any of these candidates they want. I mean, they can start with Bernie Sanders and they go to Kamala Harris and whoever else. I mean, I don't really care. But I would ask them, you guys hate Moscow so badly. Where is your modification to the law for foreign investment in the United States? Or are you cool that we still are allowing Russia to participate in the Open Skies Treaty? Why do we have an Open Skies Treaty? What sanctions are you proposing that haven't already been applied to Moscow as punishment for their interference in all things the United States? Where are you on that? And are you fine with, Middle Eastern countries injecting themselves into the syllabus of the public school systems? So, I mean, there's 4 questions right there.
There you go. That's wonderful.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you kind of step back and look at the big picture, none of these candidates are speaking to anything other than the Republicans want to do away with the Affordable Care Act. There's nothing affordable about it. And quite frankly, if I were the Republicans right now, if I were at least one of them, I would propose some legislation that changes the name of the Affordable Care Act to, hold on to your rear end health care act. I mean, because it's clearly not affordable.
I've got liberal friends that are writing me and calling me asking what they can do about their health care. Isn't that ironic?
Well, I guess here's the deal. Quit doing it completely and self-fund. I mean, if you're paying yourself or you're paying $250 or $300 a month or $600 a month or $800, whatever the number is you're paying for your premiums, self-fund it. If there's an emergency, you go to a hospital, because a hospital cannot deny you. That is a law. A hospital cannot deny you treatment based on your inability to pay. Period.
Right. I'm just sending everybody I know to Liberty Health Share, because it's about half to a third to even a quarter of what these people are getting screwed with the exchange.
I don't know what to do when it comes to prescription drugs. I don't know what to do.
I had a guy call me today and say, you know, my deductible is absolutely through the roof. He's 35, 37 years old and married and very liberal. I started off by saying, hey, first of all, thank you for what we're talking about, because it was your vote that caused it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, now, if you want a solution, the only one I can give you right now is Liberty Health Share. Go check it out. All right, let's see how much time we got left here, Denise. 5 minutes exactly.
Okay, so there you go. Now let's talk about the fact that Trump is threatening to cut off foreign aid to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador.
All right, let's talk about it.
Do you agree with him cutting off the foreign aid?
Well, yes, I do. Now, that probably is going to go against your grain, because your objective with regard to some of these failed countries is that we teach them how to deal with things themselves and fund ways that they can deal with things themselves. So I'm very curious on your take on this.
I don't want to take away their money. Because I feel like if we take away their money, there won't be anybody left, and we'll just have to go in and buy the country. And I'm not sure that, the United States, Puerto Rico wants to become the 51st state. I don't think we need Honduras as the 52nd. But having said that, I believe that we ought to create an envoy. And the envoy needs to be some past diplomatic policy people that concentrate on nothing but those three countries. And I'm going to say that those three countries are going to quickly turn into 4 or 5, because you're going to end up adding in Nicaragua or Ecuador or, Bolivia. But we don't have any ambassadors there either. And I haven't seen anybody that's been nominated. So we have no leadership in those countries. The only leadership that we have is Southern Command. And Southern Command, based out of Miami, is never part of the discussion. Never. I mean, we have military forces in those countries, especially Colombia, and they're never part of these discussions at all. So we're getting this all wrong, and I've said it, I know, going all the way back to a former mutual friend of ours, probably 5 or 6 years ago, that I'm a strong believer in a high tide, all boats rise. And we have got to do something to bring in, we fixed Colombia. Colombia used to be a big problem. We fixed that one. So if we can fix Colombia, we can, let's try Guatemala or Honduras next. I don't think El Salvador is salvageable. I really don't.
Who's the mutual friend? You teased me on that, but you didn't go anywhere with it. Who's the mutual friend?
I had a nickname for him, and it was Wine Chill.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
Know who you're talking about now.
All right. So the point being, I proposed the solution going back to those days. And I remember writing a very long white paper on it. And I created an organization for General Valley called the, the Legacy Group or something. I forgot what it was. But then, of course, that one got taken away from me too. But nonetheless, we were in an immigrant, because that was when we were having the beast trains coming in and all of these, migrants and these illegals coming to the United States. And then we had the DACA whole thing. Remember all that?
Oh, yeah.
This was
years ago.
Yes. And I put the cure out there then. We are going to have to take ownership of the leaders of those countries. El Salvador, forget about. But I think we can handle Honduras and Guatemala. So let's do it. Otherwise, if we don't fix that, there's the last person out, turn off the lights if there's any lights left in Honduras. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, we got about 45 seconds, and then we're done for the night. We're running out of time.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, I encourage you to go to founderscode.com, Denise's website. Sign up for her email notifications of all of her posts. You can dig through her website and find everything she's talking about, because she's right. Over the past 6 or 7 years, we've been doing radio shows to the tune of probably, Denise, very quickly calculate out 52 times 3 times 6.
52 times 3 is what? 156.
About 100, yeah. Times
100,
3.
160. 160 times 3, that would put us at 70, about 3, about 400 too, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know. That doesn't sound right. But at any rate, ladies and gentlemen,
450.
We've been doing radio shows now together for about 6 years. Go back and check out the archives. All right? All you got to do to find that is go to Denise's website or go to the cowboylogic.us website and click on the archive page. You'll see them all there. It's a great way for you to bone up on some of this stuff. All right, we got to run. We're over time now. Denise, say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. God bless America.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.